Beginning ODO podcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Odd Dad Out podcast, where normal is not my specialty. I am your host, Adam Higgins, the Odd Dad Out. You can find me and all of this weirdness at oddadoutpodcast.com or in the social media places at Odd Dad Out, because it's just that simple. And this is the show where I ramble and rant and empty out whatever the hell's going on in my head. I make fun of some people in the news, and I tell you about podcasts that I think you should listen to, because I just can't stick with one topic for very long. Sorry. At least I'm consistent in the range of things I talk about. Woo! So, dear listener, and I'm just totally co-opting that from Brilliant Observations. I just like the way that sounds. So, dear listener. So I think the next couple of weeks, just get this out of the way, I think are probably going to be relatively short shows, because on the one hand, there's a lot of, the summer is kicking my ass. I realize I'm like 2 weeks into the summer, but the thing is that, like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I've got the boys in, we have the boys in a sort of a summer camp program thing, and it's only 2 weeks, but what's going on is that they're basically going back to school from 8:30 to about noon, but like 8 to noon every morning. And it's just kind of a, extra booster fun stuff. They're learning extra stuff and getting kind of prepared and what to expect for next year and all that sort of jazz, which is fine and dandy. And it means, time alone for me and Sam, and we're hanging out, we're watching TV, doing that stuff, whatever. It's only a few hours. But the thing about it all is that it's really messing up our schedule, because normally around noonish, the boys are all supposed to be asleep taking naps. Now, the older boys don't need to, and now that Bug is going to be going to school, we're going to be kind of working him off of taking naps necessarily, but it really kind of messes up everything because now our entire routine has changed, because now it's not just, dealing with we're like, oh, we have lunch and we go take a nap. Well, now when we should be taking a nap, we have to get up and go pick up the boys from school. And by the time we get back, and it messes with kind of our rhythm, I guess. And, still got all the same chores and all the same stuff to do. And we, dishes and laundry and changing out the cat box and changing out the turtle hay and tortoise, whatever, changing out all that stuff and random, the just general housework. But it just kind of throws off our routine. And it's nifty having the boys home earlier. If I have to go pick them up, it's nifty having them home a little earlier, because it means that there's more time to prep for dinner. Because I've said in the past, when it comes to dinner time, I'm always like on a tight schedule during the school year, because we get home, we have to do homework. So I have to work with them to get their homework done and make dinner and all of this stuff. And I basically have a 2-hour block between homework, dinner, ready for work, out the door. And so having them home earlier helps with that. I can, I have more time to work on dinner. If I feel like making a meatloaf, I have time to make a meatloaf any day other than like Monday, where I'm working or where I'm not working. And so, that's all fine and dandy, but because of when we're going to go get them, when we get back, Sam is excited because his brothers are home, and then the boys they're not going to go lay down and take a nap. And like the older boys, especially, like, oh, we're too big for naps. Which they're not. I could make them take a nap, but they're not going to. And Bug is still hyped off of being at school, so he doesn't want to take a nap. And because none of the other boys want to take a nap, Sam doesn't want to take a nap, which means I can't take a nap, which means no naps for anybody. And I'm getting worn down. And, Sam and I are honestly spending most of our mornings just sitting there watching TV, kind of cat napping a little bit here and there in the morning. And I think it's just because we're not sleeping when we normally would. We're not taking our naps. And I think he's preparing for nope, they're not going to, we're not going to get to take a nap today. So I'm not going to, I usually can get him, at least right now, to maybe lay down a little bit later, but it's just he's completely exhausted and he just knocks out. Like we're sitting there watching TV and he knocks out sitting with me on the couch and I just leave him there. I'm like, nope, not because anybody else out there, you want to wake a sleeping 3-year-old? I don't think so. But yeah, it's just kind of messing with stuff and it messes with my recording time and it messes with my show prep time and all those sort of things. Because, again, in that time period where we'd normally be sleeping and normally be doing all these other things are when I work on a show. And with me just having Sam with me, it makes it more difficult. It makes it more difficult and I realize that when school starts, and this is a all day, everyday thing, but right now it's kind of messing with our schedule. That I don't have the time to sit and prep the show and work on the artwork and work on notes and things like that. And, put audio clips together and all of the things that I do every week to construct the show. I just don't have as much time for it. And I don't necessarily have as much time to sit and talk for an hour going through a ton of news stories and really, long podcast features right now. And so what I'm planning, at least for the next 2 weeks, is kind of this. I can't not sit here and dump my brain out to you, but I will. I'm doing this, and this is this for this week. But I'm still going to have. I'm going to pull some sort of a jackass of the week out. It's kind of like when I was doing the little just one article thing. I'm going to pull up a news story. I'm going to talk about a news thing. And I'm just going to kind of give you a sneak peek at some shows that I'm planning on talking about in the future, just so you know what am I listening to new that I'll give more in-depth features later. So I'm going to drop a promo for one of those upcoming shows, and I will be right back with the other half of the show.
This probably isn't really worth noting, but during my final radiation tests of the day, I saw a blip out in the opposite direction of Ra. It's a bright light with the pinpoint clarity of a star, but obviously it's not a star since it wasn't there yesterday. Or even a few hours ago. Also, it's moving. Charlotte's taking this new development with all the grace of a garbage fire. She barged in on her hydraulic arm while I was checking Ra's radiation emissions earlier and started reciting the entire Caldwell Enterprises Emergency Preparedness Manual to me from start to finish. I took that to mean that she thinks the incoming light is a matter of some concern. I told her to be more optimistic, that it might not be coming directly toward us, that it could simply be a mirage, that she technically doesn't have a death to fear, but she just started reciting the manual all over again from the beginning. So I wedged a fallen tree branch up into the hydraulic tracks to block her from exiting the glass house. Season 1 of Girl in Space launches September 18th, 2017, with a new episode every 2 weeks. Subscribe using your favorite podcast app or stream episodes at girlinspacepodcast.com. It's all here, in space.
So that is Girl in Space, and it's one of the few times I'm going to actually directly mention a promo that I just played. I was turned on to this by Emily from The Story Behind, who was on the show last week, and as soon as I recorded that, and it's because I'd heard of the show before, like so many other things, like she was saying, that she gets into a show, she tells me about it because it's something that she thinks I might be into. And I actually had heard of the show. I was following Girl in Space on Twitter because you follow so many podcasters when you do this. And so I was checking it out. And I binged the entire show in the last 2 weeks since we recorded that. And I will tell you, I definitely got hooked on it. And it is definitely going to be an upcoming feature, probably like 2 weeks when when the boys are off of camp schedule. That's probably going to be the next one that I really talk about in depth. And there's another, I've got one that I'm going to talk about next week a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I've been getting into the audio dramas and the space stuff. I don't know. Lately it's just been space stuff. And so that is Girl in Space. If you aren't already listening to it, you should check it out. Like I said, full feature is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, but definitely worth checking out ahead of time so you understand what it is. So you are right there with me as I'm geeking out over this with you. Couple other things, but if you have something that you want me to listen to, cause you're cool like that, hit me up, send me an email, show@odddadoutpodcast.com or use the little contact page right there on the website. And let me know, because I'd love to have more recommendations, because like I've said before, I'm running out of shows. I listen to so much stuff. I need more. And I like getting into new shows. So it's really cool. And again, especially if it's like audio drama type stuff, because again, I'm getting into that stuff, not necessarily horror stuff. Cause I don't know. I feel like it's kind of played out, but I don't know, whatever. Anyway, that's that. Not a full feature, but just kind of a, hey, check this out. Cause. Alrighty. That's going to do it for this week. I know I said I had a jackass of the week that I was going to talk about. You're just not going to hear it here. Yeah, honestly, I ended up ranting for about 30 minutes. Actually, now that I'm looking at the clock, it was more like 40 minutes, and it just got really angry and political and ranty. And I decided I didn't want to leave it in the show, which, makes this probably the shortest episode I've done in like a year or longer. But yeah, that's just what that was. I did, not trying to, chill or anything. It did go up to any of the Patreon supporters. If you are so inclined to listen to me get kind of political and ranty and I guess you could say controversial. I don't know. I just didn't feel like this was the place for it to live, so I didn't. It's gone. Anyway, thank you so much again. If you want to find links to the stuff, including a link to Girl in Space, or to subscribe to the show, or all the places, you can go to odddadoutpodcast.com. Suddenly forgetting the name of my website. Hit me up on the socials at odddadout. And if you have a podcast recommendation for me, something you want me to check out, you think I'll like, show@odddadoutpodcast.com. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters who may all, leave after, if they listen to this extended version thing, whatever. But all that aside, I just can't wait for summer camp to be over. But until next week, oddballs. Thank you and good night.